welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news evening show discussing all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates coming in, INEOS under fire, the January window, Kirkers, Nuno Mendes, wing-back seems to be the priority. Pardon me, a little bit of news ahead of the Newcastle game as well. Zirkzee, reports coming out from Italy, and I'm going to say this, Italian media definitely take with a pinch of salt. I always tell you, how reliable each source is that we report on. Always take Italian media with a pinch of salt because they've been running this narrative that Zirkzee could leave for a while, but there are reports coming out in Italy that United and INEOS have agreed for Zirkzee to be gone in January. There's a list of players that INEOS have agreed that they will be willing to sell in January. Rashford, Zirkzee, Eriksen's another one. There's obviously Garnacho's not been decided upon, but there's obviously rumours of there being a 60 million interest from Atletico. There's obviously rumours of Luke Shaw to Napoli, and that INEOS are very much in a place to let big stars leave. INEOS need to raise funds. They know that wing-back is key, but they also know they're probably going to need to invest at left centre-back, and as football Cocconi can come through, but 16 is young. If he was 19, I would take the risk, but 16 is incredibly young. Attack, and I'm going to say this. If we get a top left wing-back and a top right wing-back in, move Mazraoui to right centre-back, you've got De Ligt and Euro to compete for central centre-back. You bring in a new left centre-back that can compete with Leacher. Okay, and you just bring in a fresh left wing-back, fresh right wing-back. Our attack will get so much better. Okay, I know our attack isn't performing, but we create so much more when there's attacking wing-backs playing. And we'll talk about that, and I saw some interesting statistics on that as well. But apparently United are willing to let Zirkzee go, but it is Italian media take a pinch of salt. Apparently we're willing to sell Rashford for 50 million. I think if it wasn't for the wages, I still think we could get 50 million for Rashford, even though he's not been at his best. I generally do, because he's English, he's 27. I think it's just the wages which may make it difficult to get a lot of money in terms of the Rashford sale. So I am going to get into the news. I am going to get into the stories. I'm also going to say one thing. I apologise if I'm not fully with it this live stream. I don't know what it is, but I am absolutely exhausted today. I think it's that I didn't make that many notes. I was too tired to make notes. I had like a 10-minute nap before going live. But I don't know if anyone else gets like this, but do you find Christmas exhausting? It's that end of the year period where I'm a bit burnt out, I'm a bit tired, the games are thick and fast, so I haven't really had much of a break because obviously I do multiple things outside of YouTube and stuff. But Christmas Day with family, Boxing Day with family, 27th at home, working, 28th today with family because I've got loads of family and divorce and stuff. So when you just eat big Christmas meals every day, you're with family, you're out all day. I'm just so exhausted. I don't know if anyone else gets like that over Christmas. If you've got like multiple sides of the family you've got to see, I'm so exhausted. I've been struggling to stay awake today, so hopefully we're all focused in on this live stream. But if I do start zoning out, I'll end it early, because I've had a couple of live streams where about the 20-minute mark in, all of a sudden I'm just like falling asleep and I start that makes sense, so I forget what I'm saying. So I do apologise if that happens as well. Cold weather doesn't help. I think the fact that it gets dark early, the minute I don't know, maybe it's because it's getting dark early, but I'm getting so tired at like 5 p.m. in the evening. It's like, because it gets dark now, I'm like, and that's when I like to go live. Normally when I've got a routine, it's a video 11 a.m, a live stream 5:30. But I'm like this at 5:30 because it's getting dark now. So I thought cola will keep me awake. I think it's got caffeine in, Diet Coke. Don't know. So we'll get through the news and everything. But everyone else is saying they're tired. I think Christmas is just... I find Christmas tiring. I can't wait for my routine to be back. Mazraoui is a versatile player. He could fit anywhere but left wing back ASAP. I agree. I think Mazraoui is okay at right wing back. Mazraoui is okay at right wing back if you've got a left wing back that's more of a winger. But if you've got a left wing back that is below, Mazraoui's not okay at right wing back because he's not an attacking player. Do you get what I'm saying? I think left wing back, right wing back, left centre back, because left wing back, right wing back, cool. Left centre back gives Martinez competition. De Ligt and Euro are the central centre backs. So I think Euro will be a central centre back. Mazraoui can be the right centre back. So could Euro. Maybe we need to bring in another centre back signing for depth, or maybe we just renew Maguire's contract. Blah 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 blah. But wing backs. Midfielder with legs, 2 wing backs, left centre back, midfielder with legs, and a left 10. That is the 5 priorities to me. Striker, if we have the money. I just think if you bring Cunha left 10, you bring 2 wing backs in. If you bring 2 wing backs in, we're just going to go up a level. Cunha left 10, athletic midfielder like Ederson, left centre back like Schlotterbeck. Boom. That's what we need. But to do that, we're going to need to raise funds. So let's talk about this first story. Man United have agreed to let Joshua Zirkzee leave on loan in January, according to Tutto Sport. Now, Tutto Sport have been banging on for months and months since Zirkzee joined United, since he had his first bad game for United, which was like his third game. Tutto Sport have been banging out about, AC Milan being interested in Zirkzee, Napoli being interested in Zirkzee, Juventus being interested in Zirkzee. It's been going on and on and on and on, and it's been banging about a lot about Zirkzee returning to Italy. Zirkzee not happy. Now, United sources saying Zirkzee's happy. INEOS are willing to give him time. I'm going to give you context for that. United sources said last month, INEOS are more than willing to give Zirkzee time. He's just joined the club. They want to see how he does under Ruben Amorim. They're not going to write him off. Maybe if maybe they'd sell him in the summer, but they won't write him off in January, is what British sources said. But Italian sources keep saying, Napoli are interested in Zirkzee. This team's interested in Zirkzee. Zirkzee could go. Zirkzee's interested in going back to Italy. And they do this with Tonali at Newcastle as well. And I think what it is, and I'm going to be honest, I think what it is an ego thing, because I've seen them do it with Tonali, where Italian club loses big player to Premier League. They don't like it. The ego goes. So they keep making stories that Tonali is really unhappy at Newcastle. He wants to leave. Tonali is playing fantastic at Newcastle and doesn't look like he wants to leave. Him and Bruno Guimaraes, I'm worried to play Newcastle. I feel like that's the same with Zirkzee. Now, the thing with Zirkzee is he's not playing well, unlike Tonali. He was playing well. But I think the Italian media spin the story. So I wouldn't be shocked if INEOS cash in on Zirkzee, but I would be shocked in January. I think in the summer they will. I think they'll give him more time. I don't think they're going to let him leave in January, despite reports saying we've agreed to let Zirkzee leave. I think we could let him go in the summer because of his physicality and intensity. I don't know if he fully fits Amorim Ball, but I don't see Zirkzee going anywhere now, especially as we can't score goals. And the best game we had under Amorim was Zirkzee. Was it Zirkzee, Rashford, Bruno, front three? And Ahmad was doing unbelievable at carrying the ball. Zirkzee, I think, gets... could have something to show between now and the end of the season. I think, look, if you're going to get 40 million for Zirkzee, and you can maybe bring in someone like a Delap, who's done a bit more in the Premier League this season, maybe you look at it like that as well. So yeah. I don't know, just reading some chats. INEOS need to get rid of players now. I think INEOS will do their best to sell players, but when Casemiro's on 350k a week, Anthony 200k a week, Rashford 300k a week, it will be difficult for them as well. Since nobody wants high-wage United type players, I think INEOS want to get relegated to have them leave on their own. I don't think necessarily that. I don't think INEOS wants to get relegated. That would cost INEOS a lot, and we'd be having cost cutting to another level. But I think, look, the problem with United in selling the players is the ridiculous wages that some of our players are on. It's going to be very difficult to offload a lot of the players at United because of the wages that they're on. And I think that's the reason. Do you think INEOS wanted to keep Anthony and Casemiro this summer? Absolutely not. I was told that Eriksen, Anthony and Casemiro were three players that INEOS wanted to sell, and they were also open to sales for Rashford. It's just that they couldn't because of the wages. Rashford they decided to keep because they thought, what he did in Ten Hag's first season, Ten Hag wanted him. But Eriksen, Casemiro, they would have been willing to sell. McTominay's one they cashed in on because of FFP, even though Ten Hag wanted him to stay. Casemiro's one they wanted to cash in because of wages, and Anthony's one they just don't rate as well. We rarely sell well and recoup what we paid. Serie A clubs would have us take a loss on Zirkzee. Yeah, I think they would. And I think, do you want to take a loss after 6 months, or do you want to give it a bit longer? I'm going to be honest here. Has Zirkzee impressed me? Not particularly. But I watched him in Bologna, and I know that he was very good in Bologna, and I wanted us to sign him. What I will say, I've never seen a Man United signing wrote off as quickly as Zirkzee has been. I don't know what it is, but Højlund, people were more patient with Højlund last year. I feel like there's a severe lack of patience with Zirkzee. I think because aesthetically the way he runs, maybe. But you look at signings that have just taken a little bit of time to settle in, like Højlund. I feel like Zirkzee's been wrote off quicker than any Man United signing I can think of, in the top of my head. I really do, to be honest. I feel like people are writing them off very quickly as well. Do you think Eriksen and Lindelof will go because the contracts are expiring in summer? I think the reason Eriksen and Lindelof won't go in January is because they know they'll have more options in the summer. But I think United are very open to selling them in January as well. Juventus don't play, they want players on the cheap. I can't see us getting big money for Zirkzee, and I can't see him going before the summer, despite reports, to be honest. But I just feel like Zirkzee's been... I feel like the perception of Zirkzee is the worst towards any new player we've had in a while, to be honest. I think people were more patient with Anthony when he came in, but Anthony did it the ground running. Three goals in his first 3 games, didn't he, as well? It's a toxic time at the club. And this is why I don't want to judge Zirkzee just yet, okay? like right now, Man United could sign the best player in the world, and within 2 months of being at this club, they'd be crap. Do you know what I mean? Like, we could bring in Bruno Guimaraes, we could bring in Isak, we could bring in Cunha, we could bring in Caicedo, we could bring in Cole Palmer, and I just feel like within 2 months of being at this club, they would be crap right now. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's why it's so hard to fully judge new signings, because when the club is the mess that it is, it's the system isn't quite there yet. We don't have the players aren't good enough, the toxicity. I think until the environment's right, it's really hard to judge players. Like Rasmus Højlund, yeah, his touch could be better and he could do this and he could do that better, but he isn't getting service. And when he does get service, he can score. You know, Joshua Zirkzee, if you watch him at Bologna, you know there's a decent player. Marcus Rashford was once capable of scoring 30 plus goals. Kobbie Mainoo was our best midfielder last season. You know, the signings the players that actually look good right now are the new signings: De Ligt, Mazraoui, and Ugarte. It's like the three best players have been De Ligt, Mazraoui, and Ugarte this season, and it's almost because they haven't been here long enough to become rubbish. I feel like that a little bit about Man United. So I also think it's really hard to judge the new signings until we sort ourselves out as a club, because the environment, the club, especially if you're a young player, I feel like it must make it particularly difficult for anyone to come in Manchester United and particularly shine as well. I feel like there's a lot of toxicity. Yeah, there's a lot of toxicity right now because, you know, we're 14th. People were worried about us getting relegated. And I think the worse we play, the worse the toxicity gets, the worse the media. The problem is we have people in the fan base that will write off players after 1 or 2 bad games, which doesn't help. We have the media that any opportunity to bring Man United down will. And when things are toxic and bad at United, they'll then start writing articles, dressing room source, leak this to spin the negativity. And it's like this never-ending cycle at United, isn't it? But anyway, it was said that Manchester United have set an initial asking price of £50 million for Marcus Rashford, and that Juventus are ready to offer Joshua Zirkzee an exit if United are open to a move, but are not interested in Rashford. Well, Rashford doesn't really suit Juventus. Zirkzee, obviously, Motta played really well under him. I watched Serie A last season. Zirkzee was very impressive as well. Alex said an interesting thing here, and I want to touch upon the Rashford and the 50 million, but he said, apparently been ill, but seems like Amran not totally keen on De Ligt for some reason. He often subs him. I think a little bit of it is rotation. Like, because if you look at the games, we've played 3 games without De Ligt and we've conceded 9 goals. You know, I think Maguire is maybe more naturally suited to that central centre-back role, but I think it is because De Ligt has been ill, and I think just rotation and everything and getting Maguire in and the legs. I don't know. It's an interesting one with De Ligt because he's not fully suited to Amran's system in terms of he's a little bit slow for the high line, and he's not, you know, naturally someone that's going to break lines with his passing like Leacher is, and Maguire's probably better at breaking lines, and so is Euro. But I think De Ligt brings the stability. I think De Ligt is the least suited to Amran's systems out of the centre-backs, bar Evans and Lindelof, but I don't count them anymore. But I think De Ligt brings the most stability and leadership, because we're talking about United lacking leaders, and people are saying Bruno can't be captain of Man United. Bruno can't be captain, people are saying to me. And I said, cool, you could say Bruno can't be captain, but who would you give captaincy to if it wasn't for Bruno? Because Bruno's the one that hangs out with the academy kids, hangs out with the old kids, helps out the staff, you know, offers to pay for this and that for the staff. For me, Bruno was the biggest leader at this club. I'm not saying he is captain material, and I'm not saying that at all, but people are saying to me, like, who's probably the leader? If De Ligt, I'd say if Bruno didn't have the armband, I'd probably give it to De Ligt, because we'd have a lack of leaders in this club. Because we can argue Bruno maybe isn't a leader at captain, but then if you strip him of captaincy, who do you give it to? Who do you give it to? You know, can't give it to Mount. He's always injured. Højlund, inconsistent. Zirkzee doesn't always play. It has to be someone that plays. Ugarte, he's just got in the door. Again, De Ligt, but he's just got in the door. Maguire, you give it back to him. We complained when Maguire was captain. Mazraoui doesn't seem particularly vocal. Anand is quite mistake prone. Like, if you take captaincy off Bruno, who do you give it to? If I said who I thought the biggest leader in the squad was, it's De Ligt. And I think we lack that leadership when De Ligt isn't on the pitch. I don't know. Who do you think's the biggest leader? I'd probably say De Ligt. He looks the most captainy, the most leadership, I'd say. But it's difficult. It's difficult as well. People saying Bruno needs stripping of captaincy and De Ligt deserves captaincy, or even Ugarte. Yeah, I think I think though, I don't know if Agarte's a captain just yet. De Ligt seems a bit more vocal. I think if we took it off Bruno, it would probably go to De Ligt, but he's just sort of got in the door. Someone said Anthony for captaincy. I'm assuming you're taking the mick. I'm assuming you're taking the mick there. I don't think Anthony's a captain, but it's difficult to think who's really captain material at United because we don't have a lot. We don't have a lot. Maybe Euro in the future. Maybe Agarte if he's been here longer, but probably De Ligt for me. If I had to say one, probably. So anyway, we're talking about transfers. We're talking about sales. So what we know right now is that INEOS are ready to dump big stars and dump big names. You know, INEOS, I think it's very obvious that they're looking for offers for Marcus Rashford in January. I'd be very shocked. To be honest, I think Marcus Rashford could have played his last game for United. If Marcus Rashford does not get back in the squad for Newcastle, that's the last game before the January window opens. I think he's played his last game for the club. And I think if they're not utilising him after not scoring in the last 2 games and Amron's not utilising him, I think it's because INEOS are confident he's got a move lined up and he will go. So I think Rashford could go. But INEOS are more than willing to offload Luke Shaw, according to Italian sources, Zirkzee, and a couple of bigger name players. There's rumours of Garnacho coming from Spain. Again, not the most reliable. Eriksen, Casemiro, Antony. Eriksen, Casemiro, Antony, Rashford, Lindelof. If any club puts in bids for those players that United seem worthy, they're willing to sell those players. Zirkzee, Shaw, Garnacho, there's question marks whether United would sell them, not mixed reports. I think Shaw maybe because of the injury record and stuff. And apparently, you know, Ruben Amorim hasn't taken a strong liking to Malacia, doesn't rate him, but he also is aware that Malacia just physically is still recovering from that injury. But I think, to be honest, the wing-back is going to be the priority. And obviously, Nuno Mendes seems to be the priority in January. If we don't get Nuno Mendes, look at Dorgu, look at Kirkes. INEOS out. They cut funding for disabled supporter group. I'm disgusted with my football club now. Let it all go, says Tywin Lannister. And you know what? I'm all for cost-cutting and being efficient, but saving a couple grand and punishing disabled people and punishing charities is not okay. You cancel the Christmas party. You're making it difficult for the disabled people. You cut enough charity payments. You know, I know that the players obviously legally bind to contracts, but it's like the players are on 350k a week, 300k a week, 250k a week, 200k a week, a lot of them are, to be 14th in the Premier League. But we'll cut, you know, disabled access. We'll cut funding for disabled supporters. We'll ruin the staff bonus in the Christmas party. We'll cancel the awards ceremony for the youth and the women's team. We'll cut funding to the women's team. I don't like that from INEOS. It's giving toxicity because you might say, okay, but they might save 800 grand doing that. And you might say, oh, that's 800 grand saved. That's like less than a month of Rashford's wages or Casemiro's wages. You know, it's not worth it for the mood. If you neglect the women's team and neglect the staff, that mood's going to go down into the club and leak into the players and create a toxicity. I'm all for cost cutting. You had to lay off a load of staff, fine. I know that the contracts are legally bound. You can't just slap it on the player contracts, but I agree. I think INEOS are going too much with this cost cutting to the point that it's nasty. I don't get it. I agree. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed how the women's team's been treated. I'm not impressed with the cost cutting. I'm not impressed with the fact that, you know, they've done all this cost cutting, but they've just wasted about 6 million to get Dan Ashworth in and out the club. And because Dan Ashworth wanted to be more, Dan Ashworth was sacked because he wanted to be more. I'm going to say this for a fact. Dan Ashworth never wanted Southgate. Dan Ashworth had nothing to do with the decision whether we sacked Tanog in the summer because he wasn't in there yet. Dan Ashworth wanted to be more patient. He didn't want us to sign Zirkzee. He didn't want us to sign De Ligt, but he approved Yoro, Masraoui and Agarte. But he wanted to be more patient, and INEOS were ready to be ruthless, act quickly, be reactionary. Dan Ashworth was very much the type of, we should sell this and this player before we look at selling Rashford. INEOS are like, get Rashford out the door, PSL money. He was thinking, maybe we should give Tanog a bit more time because we've just given him a new contract. We're going to have to spend 20 million to bring Amorim in. The season's already bad. You know, Dan Ashworth was a lot more patient, and he got sacked for that as well. And I don't like that approach from INEOS as well. I'd like to see Zirkzee play as a 10 more. I think De Ligt's distribution needs improvement. He gets subbed. I don't think the players listen to Maguire. Lissandro Martinez says captaincy. I think Leach could be a bit of a captain, but he's been quite poor lately. I think Maguire, some listen to him, but not all. And I think Zirkzee would be more suited to a 10 than a striker as well. Some of the cuts have been disappointing, hitting the poorest. I agree. The cuts have become classless and amateurish. don't buy the club if you can't afford to run it in a classy way. I agree. Imagine if Arsenal get Amad Diallo. Well, Amad Diallo is basically another Saka, so they need someone for the left Arsenal. Arsenal should go all out for Anthony Gordon, but I don't think they'd be able to get him. Maybe they'd look at Semenyo, but they should go all out for Anthony Gordon as well. Could Shaw pass the medical if we tried to sell him? Honestly, someone said Maynard for captain too young. Yeah, it's pretty classless, the cuts, I agree. I can't believe how much Maino's gone off the ball. Maino's played 4 games since coming back from injury. 2 of them he was probably an 8 out of 10 in, and the other 2 he's been a 3 out of 10 in. So I think it's a bit reactionary, the whole Maino stuff, and I think people are trying to make out he's been worse than he has been, because obviously people want to bring him down because how fast he hit the scene. But I'm not worried about Maino, to be honest. You just got to remember that he's 19 as well. Someone is saying Trent is going to Real Madrid. I mean, I don't know how reliable the news is on Trent going to Real Madrid, but if Trent doesn't go to Real Madrid, they'll look at Delo, and considering Delo doesn't suit the system, probably isn't the worst thing in the world. Do you think United should have sold McTominay? Yes, because he doesn't suit the system. Again, we needed the money. But look, he of course will sell McTominay and be a much better player elsewhere, but he doesn't suit the system. Do you think United should look at Bentito Mantato? Oh, 100%. I think we should look at playing him at right wing back. I think for me, I've said this, if we're going to have Delo at left wing back, we're going to need Mazraoui right centre back and basically a very attacking minded right wing back, because you can't have 2 full backs that are defensive minded at wing back. You can have 1, but not 2. And that's why I think the last 2 games we've been poor, because at least Amad was carrying the ball forward. Even though we know Amad's better as a 10, he's probably our best option right wing back as well. Main and Wharton having very similar seasons. Yeah, both picked up injuries. Yeah, are playing too much. I agree. Someone said we shouldn't have sold Alanga. To tell you what, Alanga would have been quite a good wing back in Amarin's system. I think for me, I had no issue with us selling Alanga because he wasn't going to get a lot of minutes, but I felt that we could have got an extra 5-10 million for him. I did. Manchester United have absolutely no intention of allowing Lisandro Martinez or Andre Onana to leave in January, and they're not looking to replace either of them, said Fabrizio Romano, which is quite obvious news. But there was a rumour that came out from Spain that Leacher was going to leave in January. But it came out from, was it Ficheos or someone absolutely crap? But Romano's just come out now saying there's no way that Lisandro Martinez or Onana will leave in January, which I think is just him spitting the obvious. But, Marca is saying that Trent wants to sign for Real Madrid, but Fabrizio Romano is saying that nothing is agreed. So I don't think there's much going on with Trent and Real Madrid yet. I think Real Madrid sources are wanting clicks as well. Alvaro, I look at the situation we're in and how we sold our attacking fullback in Alvaro. There is rumours of United activating the 16 million buyback clause, but apparently the number 1 choice is Nuno Mendes, the number 2 choice is Kirkers, and the number 3 choice is Dorgu. And if we can't get any of them in January, we may look for Alvaro because he's got a 16 million pound buyback clause as well. That Alanga run for the go against Spurs, he could have been a really good right wing back. Potentially, yeah. We do regret selling a lot of our players. The thing is, I generally think, because the environment at United is so bad, if we didn't sell those players, they'd probably be crap at United, but they'll go elsewhere in a good environment where they're utilised and profiled correctly and they'll be good. I generally think if we sold Rashford to Arsenal, we'd be then talking about, I feel Rashford would become really good again, and it would be so infuriating. But let's continue on into some other news. Joshua Zirkzee believes in his qualities and wants to establish himself and see himself as the number 1 striker. Rumours about his intention to leave are fake news, says Florian Plettenberg. And I think there is rumours that he wants to leave. It's fake news. And there's now rumours that United have agreed to let him leave. But I don't think that's the case. I would take that with a pinch of salt, if I was going to be honest. And it was also said by Amrin on Rashford. He was asked whether Rashford has shown anything different since being left out the squad, and he said if he's not here, you can make your mind up. And this is what he said after the Wolves game, which says to me, I think it is maybe over for Marcus Rashford, because that's 4. Is that 3 or 4 games out of the squad now? I think that's 4. So I think it probably is looking like the end of Marcus Rashford at Manchester United as well, sadly, because he's not played in 4 games. He's not got back in the squad. I think he's probably gone in January as well. Amro needs to bring in his guys. This clown Ratcliffe needs to back his guy. He has no grounds to sack a manager regardless of results. I agree. I've said this time and time again, but wing backs is the most important part of Ruben Amorim's system. It's how he attacks, it's how he progresses the ball, it's how he gets forward. When you have 2 defensive fullbacks, no wonder, his system isn't working. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something here. Bear with me. This is what I tweeted. Okay. Let me get this up. And this was from Devil's DNA. So let me pick this up here. Okay. Zoom in. Okay, I don't know how clear that is. So yeah, all 9 goals scored in the Premier League under Ruben Amorim have come when a winger is played at wing-back. United have yet to score with 2 full-backs playing at wing-back in the Premier League, was said by Devil's DNA, who then obviously contributed a bit more detail to this, saying, you know, the impact of wing-backs, blah, 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 blah. You can go read that if you want. It's a good post. Anyway, so then I said this. We basically need 2 Amads, one at right wing back and one at right 10. We're controlling games better, brackets we're less wide open under Amorim, but until our wing back provides threat, we're not going to score and create as much. And I spoke about this, was it in my video yesterday or the day before? I said this, Man United under Ruben Amorim are better in terms of possession, they're better in terms of control, we're less open, the XG against us is lower, but our chance creation is lower. Our chance creation in neutral states is the lowest in the league. Our chance creation when we're in front or behind is a lot higher, but we're in more control. We're conceding less chances. We keep the ball better. We pass the ball better. We have more control on that Amorim, which it might not look like that, but we do. But we're making ridiculous mistakes. The Onana one versus Forest, the Leach one versus Forest. You know, the fact that we've conceded 2 goals directly from a corner. You know, set pieces, Amorim, they need to work on that. But it's the chance creation we're struggling because the people that progress the ball and run up the pitch, the wing backs, they're not providing that. And Delo, I think, had 1 accurate out of his last 35 crosses, apparently someone said, which is very, very worrying. So the problem with Ruben Amorim in the system is, for me, the wing-backs. He needs someone to drive the ball forward because when we have a wing-back playing like Ahmad, we create more chances. Even Anthony did a bit more than because of the attacking threat as well. Amorim needs to make adjustments. Growing pains with the new system is one thing, but can't keep slipping down the table. I agree. You know, I said in my live video or live stream earlier today, I said we're not bad enough to get relegated, and everyone else is reminding me of the 70s when they said that, and we did. We need to make sure we get the points because I don't want to see United. We need to finish at least in the top half of the table, you know, and that should be a given. But we're 14th. Like, I don't care about how bad we are. At least finish in the top half of the table. If we finish something like 15th, 16th, do you know how disgraceful that is? Disgraceful. Like, at least the 8th place, it's like, okay, we don't get in Europe, but like, we weren't. Like 15th, 16th is a joke. That could be Everton finishing above us. So, you know, West Ham, who've been crap, although they've spent a lot of money as well. I never trust Onana. Onana, yeah, he started well this season, but he slipped into a poor thing. But we need fullbacks. And I truly believe that INEOS are looking at fullbacks. And I think, and I spoke about this in my video the other day, you've got Zirkzee, you've got Dorgu, and you've got Nuno Mendes available. In potentially, I don't know about Zirkzee in January, but the other 2 you could potentially get in January. Players like Alphonso Davies, contract running low, don't see him going to United. Ain't Nouri's there. You've got Maxen de Kuiper as well over in Belgium. There's options. There's options out there for left wing back. Alvaro Fernandez as well. I think United need to act on that. Hypothetically, if United were relegated, would this put pressure on the Glazers to sell United and take the financial hit? I mean, to be honest, if getting us relegated meant that the Glazers 100% left the club, get us relegated. I know it would hurt, but I would take relegation this season if it meant the Glazers left. So, but I don't think it would. I think the financial hit would be big, and I think we'd get in a lot of trouble with FFP, and we'd have to properly offload players, and it would take a bit to reset. I would assume we'd get promoted right away, but you just don't know. It would take maybe a while to reset if we got relegated. Do you know what someone said? And I thought it was quite a funny comment. Imagine if Man United finish 18th. We think we're relegated, then the City points deduction comes in, and we just stay up because City get relegated. I mean, that's quite funny, but hopefully that doesn't happen. I would take being relegated if we got the Glazers out. I don't care. But I don't think so. I don't know. It's hard. I think it would financially hurt if we got relegated. I think it would financially hurt a lot. Kirk is apparently a United fan. Yeah, apparently, considering where Liverpool are and where we are, it kind of shocked me. But according to Romano, Kirkes would choose Man United over Liverpool, which I thought was quite... Like, I didn't believe that, but Romano's Romano. And, you know, as shit as we are, we have good pull. According to David Ornstein, United are keeping an eye on Liam Delap as well. So that'll be an interesting one. Apparently, Rafael Leao has told Manchester United he prefers Barcelona. I don't think we're ever looking at Diao. Man United and Chelsea are watching Ipswich Town striker Liam Delap. I think if Ipswich get relegated, we could get Liam Delap for 30 to 40 million. And I think they'll bring him in to compete with Hoyland because he's quite a good player. So David Ornstein and Alex Crook have both linked Manchester United to Delap. So that's one to watch for the summer, but not January. I think January's left wing back. I think summer we look at Edison, we look at Delap, we look at maybe a Schlotterbeck or a Bramthwaite. I wouldn't be shocked if we went back in for Bramthwaite in the summer, guys, to be honest. Daniel Levy would stay at Tottenham within League 2. Bloody hell. Do you know what? Tottenham are one of the best teams in terms of FFP, and they've got 4 centre-backs injured, so they're playing 2 midfielders in Basuma and Gray at centre-back, and there's reports coming out that Daniel Levy's not going to spend, despite Ange basically coming out and begging for a centre-back. Apparently Ange is like coming out, and who knows what Daniel Levy's going to do. Who knows? He's very tight. Tottenham need January probably the most, or would you say United? We need a left wing back for sure. I think if we get a good attacking left wing back in, it changes the dynamics of the team more. I take Schlotterbeck over Bramthwaite. Should we do Dream Man United lineup? I want to show you what I would do and what I think a few signings would do for us. I'm going to be honest on what I think a few signings would do for us. So let me zoom in this. Okay, I don't know how. Is that too big? Okay, can you see that clearly? Yes, you can. Cool. So let's talk about like the impact a few signings could make. So we play a 3. What? Is it not a 3-5-2? There it is. No, not that. Sorry, a 3-4-3. So this is what we'll do. So look, I have some fears over Onana, but I think it's going to be a 2026 signing because I think there's so much more to do in 2025. For me, Mazraoui is going to be right centre back. For me, Mazraoui is the right centre back. I think he's just better at right centre back because he's never been an attacking minded fullback. I think, to be honest, I think long term it could be Euro, but we're going to put De Ligt in, and I'm going to say Maguire's contract's going to be extended. And because the reason I think Maguire's contract will be extended is because both Lindelof and Evans will go, and I think they will only. I think we only have the funds to potentially bring in. Why is that? For some reason it won't let me. What the hell? It's not letting me bring Onana down. Let me see if that works. What the hell? It's very glitchy. This. It's not letting me move it. It's not letting me move Onana. There we go. Oh no. Okay, we're gonna zoom out again. Apologise for that. It wasn't letting me move Onana. Mazraoui could play wing back. If we have a very attacking minded left wing back, we could play Mazraoui. I think Delot could be sold. I think Delot's one of those players that we could be sold because he could bring us in 30-40 million. Anyway, I would go with Schlotterbeck. If we can get him, I like Lukeba, but I would go with Schlotterbeck. I think Hinkeby, Schlotterbeck, Hato of Ajax. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, don't go for another Ajax player, but I think Hato of Ajax is very good. But I will go with Schlotterbeck. Hinkeby, Schlotterbeck, Lukeba, Hato of Ajax, Bramthwaite, all potential options. But I think Schlotterbeck in terms of defending the wide channels was good. I'm going to go Mendes because that's who we're linked with the most. But I'm actually going to put Alvaro here for depth and say that we trigger his 16 million release clause. Right wing back, we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that one. But I think we'll have Maz as backup because I think we can have one defensive wing back if we've got 2 attacker ones there. Midfield, I think it will stick with Maino and Agate for now. But I think we will look to replace Casemiro and Eriksen. So I'm going to put Belieber in there with a question mark. I also do like Palacios and I also do like Edison. But we'll put Belieber in there for now. Up top, I'm going to stick with Hoyland because I think he can become good. Again, there's players that are in this team that I would move on in 2026. Onana, 2026. Do you know what I mean? But we've got to think for now. Ahmad, and then I'd probably say Cunha. And then, you know what? Edison. I think we could see something more like this, actually. I think Bruno will stay. I think I think Mount will stay, because Amram will want him, but I don't know if he can stay fit. And I think Bruno will stay. I don't think Zirkzee's safe. I don't think Garnacho's safe. I don't think Antony's safe. And I don't think Rashford's safe. I don't think Eriksen's safe. I don't think Casemiro's safe. I don't think Lindelof's safe. And I don't think Evans is safe. I don't think Shaw is safe. And I don't think Malacia is safe. So I've not included them. But I've gone potentially something like that because we've been linked to Ederson. I do prefer Belieber, but we've been linked to Ederson, and he's more similar to Agarthe. But I think the big question is right wing back, because like, do you look out there and think like, I guess Frimpong is probably the standout right wing back in the market. There's nobody out there at right wing back that, do you know what crazy stands out for me? I think Frimpong's one to look at. You know, Benzito Mantato's one that obviously we've got in the academy. People are saying just use Ahmed at right wing back and get a right 10. Ola Aina I think is more of a right back, but he could potentially do a job at right wing back, couldn't he? Keep Antony for right wing back, but 85 million right wing back, that's average. That is the big question. Ahmad back at right wing back and bringing another attacker. I still think Ahmad's our best right wing back on our best right 10. I'd probably say someone like Frimpong is probably the best right, or Kenda's out there is probably the best right wing back on the market. It's difficult. I'm actually going to put Delap in here. If I was to predict United's window, so let's say we get Delap for 40 million, we get Ederson for 35 million, that's 75 million. We get Alvaro for 15 million, that takes us to 90 million. Mendes for 40 million takes us to 130 million. Slotterbeck probably takes us to 160, 70 million. And let's say we have 200 left. I think right wing back's the most difficult. Who are you looking at? Kenda? People saying a lot of people saying Kenda. I just think he's very similar to Benzito Mantato. Diamonde. Cunha would be quality. I think right wing back's the big question, and it's also who we can attract. We'll put Kenda in for now because we've looked, but I think Sporting will want ridiculous funds. And I think when we've got a very similar profile in the academy, we could look at. I'm surprised. I think Codwell Kokoni and Mantato will be looked at the most. But we'll go with Kenda. So potentially you could look at something like this for United next season, and I think that looks quite good. I guess I'll put Bruno there maybe. I just think Anthony, Garnacho, and Zirkzee are all at risk. But I think Cunha, Ahmad, Højlund could be a very good front three. Weirdly. Mount Shaw, Antony unsellable. Yeah, Casemiro is difficult to move on. Diamonde's a shout. If the funds are there, I'd add Diamonde in for sure. 1/5. Why have we just signed Leon? Because I just don't think Leon's ready made. No signing is risk free, but we need ready made signings. I agree, 100%. So that's just me sort of looking at United and breaking down where we're at. But listen, people, I'm just going to make sure there's no news coming out. There is news coming out on Liam Delap. That United are watching him closely, but we'll cover that tomorrow. If I'm going to be honest, we'll cover that story tomorrow. There's nothing breaking, anything. It's just saying we're looking in for the summer, not January. We'll probably cover that in my show tomorrow. But big up everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and bye.